Okay, hi everybody. Chodesh Tov, everybody. Um, should we turn it around to show everybody? Everybody?
Oh, are you on Zoom?
Not Zoom. I'm just recording it, and I'm going to post it later. But it's not. It's not live. No, we shouldn't show everybody. Everybody? No. I got some real no's, but no. They said no. No. Okay. Okay. So we're going to just learn regular, not Corona-based, not Pesach-based Torah, just regular Bein Lichaveiro class. And we're going to continue. We have our booklets. I'll email them out to everybody. So I have the PDFs that everybody at home can have them also. But we stopped in the middle of a section. Okay, right? We're in the faking booklet, and we're going up through the different levels of faking. Right? We started with the lowest level, which was chanufa. Very good. Which is what? What's chanufa? Flattery. When you give up your values to kiss up to somebody else, right? Going along and making it like you're good with bad stuff that's going on when you know it's bad just because you want to ingratiate yourself to others, right? That's terrible. Then we moved up a level from there and went to the level of what? What was next? Genevas das, right? Genevas das is lying and manipulation and cheating and all sorts of things that we saw that are also usher in halacha that you're not allowed to do, right? And then we saw the areas of Genevas das that are not usher, right, where a person tricks himself and you're just going along with it and those types of things, right? We did, addressed all of that. But now we moved into the next levels of faking, which is from here till the end of the year, which are all good forms of faking, right? And we started with the first one. I think I covered this with both classes, right? With both of, it's probably a mixture here of both of you, right? We started this about making somebody else not feel so indebted to you, right? We did this. Everybody heard this from me. I mean, everybody who comes to class. So that's the yeah. I'm gonna go over it. So what we have over here. No, I know you were okay. So we started with the medrash with the blind man and the seeing man, right? A blind man. So you'll let me know when your memory is jogged. When the blind man and the seeing man, and the blind man walks the man home. I think maybe you missed this. He walks the blind man home from shul, and when they get into the house. Yeah, the blind man, they live together in the same building, and the seeing man says to the blind man, do me a favor, turn on the light. And the blind guy's like, well, you don't need me to do that. And the seeing man says, maybe you were there. The seeing man says, no, you're right. I know I don't need you to do it, but I'm asking you because I want to give you the opportunity to do me a favor so you won't feel indebted to me, right? That's the idea. And then I think with one class we saw this and not the other ones. I'm just going to review it now. I think we saw this idea that in Chazal they say there's three ways that you can help a person, right? Let's say, you could give a person tzedakah, you could give a person a loan, or you can invest in a person's business, right? So Chazal tell us that the highest form of chesed is which one? Investing, right? Because the less that the person feels he owes you, right, the more kavod he comes away with, the more self-respect and dignity she has, because she's not just dependent on you, and what I mean. So even though, of course, somebody who can't afford to pay you back and whatever, so tzedakah we have to do, and it's a mitzvah. And most of the people, like I said, they're going to come to your door. Don't say, okay, look, why don't you go out and start a business and I'll invest? They just want the few shekel that you could give them, right? But the idea is that dignity comes before money, right? And most people would rather end up with less but have more of their dignity and self-worth than have more money and feel totally indebted to somebody else, right? This is the idea that we're seeing here. So there's an amazing application of this, that it could be that now other teachers have covered this at some point in the year. So if you know the answer, don't yell it out. But this is a medrash that I only came across, or I only learned about when I was significantly older in Kolel, etc. And was always bothered by the following. So we have take a look at the psukim number 4. Okay, so this is in Parshas Vayetze. Okay, so this is the parsha when Yaakov Avinu is working for Lavan, right? And he's got his 4 wives, and during these number of years, 24 years or whatever it was, that he's working for Lavan. And this is during the time that the Shvatim are being born, right? And Leah has a number of kids, and then the the Zilpah, then Bilhah, right? This is what during that time period. So Ruvain, who is Leah's daughter, is already a kid. He's already, a child. So Ruvain goes out picking flowers, right? You guys know this story? Yeah. Vayelech Ruvain b'yamei kitzir chitim v'yimatzei tudayim basada. So Ruvain goes out in the harvest, the wheat harvest time, and he finds these beautiful flowers in the field. Because I'll say maybe it was like a fertility treatment or something. And page 10, source 4, pasuk Yud Daled. Yeah, so Reuven found these flowers, and a good son he was. And he brought them to his mother Leah, right? These pretty flowers. Okay. And Rachel sees these flowers. Vatomer Rachel Leah, and Rachel says to Leah, Tani na li midu de banich. Please, may I have some, like may do de, right? Not even all of them, right? Can I please have some of your flowers? Right, so Rachel is asking, sounds like a pretty, respectful request. Sounds like a pretty, decently phrased, nothing too harsh or anything. And I was always troubled by Leah's response. Right? What does Leah respond? Vatomer la. So Leah responds. Now pasuk tesvav. Vatomer la. She responds to Rachel. Hama'at kachtech es ishi. You've practically taken away my husband. V'lakacht gam es duda e bani. And you're going to take also my flowers. Okay, let's going to get back to this. Yeah. So vatomer Rachel. So Rachel responds, "L'chein yishka v'machalayla tachas this." And they make this deal, right? They make this exchange, right? And okay, so that's the story over here. So we have this very strange sounding exchange between Rachel and her sister Leah, right? Leah is, right, we know it's like, the simple reading of the text of the Torah that Leah was the less loved of the two and felt, sidelined or whatever you want to say, right? Because Yaakov really loved Rachel more and their relationship was, the first one, etc., all these things. And here we have Leah, coming back from the field, Leah's son coming back from the field, Rachel asking for the flowers, and Leah like complaining about this whole dynamic, right? Like, isn't it obvious that you're basically the main wife and I'm the side wife, and now you also want my flowers? I'm nothing. You have my husband. You want my flowers also. Now, what's wrong with this picture, right? One would think is that we all know the story, right? That if not for Rachel, Leah would not be married to Yaakov at all, right? We know that Yaakov was meant to marry Rachel, and Lavan, the trickster, right? The Ramoi, Lavan, Arami Oved Avi, tried to mess everything up all the time, right? Lavan tried to switch, or he switched Rachel for Leah. And we know this is the super famous story and songs about this and everything in Kevarachel, the whole Medrash, right? That Rachel didn't want Leah to be embarrassed, so she gave Rachel the simanim, right, and was sort of mavater on her husband, mavater on marrying Yaakov, in order to let Leah marry him, right? So, like, if I would be Leah, let's say, right, so I would be thankful for what I got at all, right? I would feel a tremendous debt to Rachel, and I would feel very not beseder talking this way to her, right? In other words, I should be happy with what I have, right? Everybody clear with this? Okay, so there's an unbelievable thing about this. Has anybody heard an answer to this idea before? If this has come up in class or anything, or no?
I never heard the story.
You never heard the story? Okay, it's there in the Chumash. It's there in Parshas Vayetze. It's a very dramatic story. A lot of very dramatic stories. Yeah. So take a look at this. This is something unbelievable. Take a look at page 13, source number 2. Okay, we're going to see this later when we talk about another level, but I realized that I really should have included this source earlier. Okay, we're going to see something unbelievable here in this medrash. Okay, you ready for this? This unbelievable chesed that Rachel did for Leah, she did in a way that Leah never knew. Leah never knew that Rachel did this for her. Like, the simanim that she was supposed to get or whatever, Rachel like found a way to, right? Chazal tell us, what were the simanim? Do you guys know? It was the halachos, right? He asked her halachos of chala, nida, hadlakas haner, right? So Rachel would like, while they're getting ready for the wedding, she told her, oh, what? Well, I learned this interesting thing recently. I heard this recently. I heard that recently. So that, Leah's like, okay, that's interesting, and didn't understand why Yaakov was asking her these questions, right? Right after the wedding, right? And she happened to know the answers, but Rachel did it in such a way that Leah never knew. Right?
It's kind of stupid because then if he finds out that it wasn't her, it's late.
Well, okay, it was under the chuppah. It's not clear what the chuppah was exactly for this thing, but whatever the either which way, let's leave that technicality on the side for now. Good question. Put a pin in it. We'll leave that on the side. But the idea is that this epic chesed, right? And we know that this chesed is like, the big schos for us in Galus, that Yaakov, that Rachel Imenu cries to Hashem and says, what? You're upset that they did Avodah Zarah. I was willing to give up my husband so that somebody else shouldn't be, embarrassed, right? That unbelievable chesed that everybody knows that Rachel, she did it in such a way that the recipient never even knew she got it. Right? It's like an unbelievable thing. It takes Rachel Imenu to a whole new level. Look at this, but look at this medrash now. You're going to cry. Bemet, I'm saying it's like I don't mean that jokingly. I'm saying it's a very like you see Rachel Imenu is like an unbelievable person. Look at this. There's a medrash in Yalkut. Yeah, it says like this: Ein lecha na'am mirachel. There's nobody more lovely than Rachel. Bishvil Yafya, Bikesh Yaakov Lisa Osa, and because she was so wonderful, Yaakov Avinu wanted to marry her. Okay, listen to this. This is unbelievable medrash on a lot of levels. But listen to this. Okay, so Yaakov Avinu is out in the fields working. Right, he could be a week's travel away. Right, he's out in the fields. V'haya mishaleach savlonos litneim larachel. He would send messengers with gifts to bring to Rachel. Right? He would be out in the field, and and he would find a nice flower, and put a bouquet together, or who knows what, or a nice a crown ring of dandelions, who knows what, whatever nice pretty things he could find, teddy bears, made of animal skins, these kind of things, whatever things he was able to find, nice pretty things. Savlanos, that means, courting presents. That's basically what the word means, right? He would be sending them chocolate. I don't think they had back then, but probably he would have sent her. Yeah, but listen. Now, okay, 1 second. When I was a kid, when I was like already like in my later teenagers, that I was like riding my bike to school or, driving to school. So there were times which, this is not mutter and not a right thing to do, and I'm not saying I ever did it uh, but there would be times, let's say, that one would know that a letter from the school was on its way home. You know what I mean? Like, let's say in my day, anyway, I don't know if there's like when you failed a test or got some sort of disciplinary action, so they would like send a letter written in real red pen, make sure, and send it home. And one could theoretically, go if one's parents are not home during the day. So then one could theoretically go home in the middle of the day and intercept the mail and just pull that one letter out of the, one could do that, and and then the people would never know that the letter came for them. So that would be a really devious thing to do, right? Only a really bad person would do such a thing. So listen to this. Listen to this. This is unbelievable. So Lavan, right? Lavan's the one. I'm not sure.
To your house, Corona.
Yeah, probably something like that.
No, it's not just the one that's always here.
No, I know, but they hired him to do the Corona announcements now. They hired the funeral man to. No. In Haredi communities in Israel, they have these cars driving around with speakers, and they make announcements from like. Yeah, they do also. Wait, what's it? Something I heard of Kodesh.
He said something about money.
something at 1 o'clock. I can't make it out. Okay, so we're going to learn Torah. That's what we're doing. So Lavan, was a devious person like this. So Lavan was at home, and the messengers would come, right? The male UPS guy would show up and drop off the teddy bear, right? And Lavan, look what he would do. He would mamish cross out Rachel and, write Leah, right? The Lavan, nosnam the Leah. Lavan was intercepting Rachel's gifts and giving them to Leah. Right? It's crazy. And Rachel knew about this. V'haisa roa. Rachel would see Savon Rosea beyad achosa. Could you imagine? She would see her gifts from Yaakov, her sister, wearing them. Right? I'm not joking. It's mom is so heartbreaking, right? V'shosakas, and she would keep quiet about it. She didn't. So we'll see why she did that later. We'll get there later. But what we see from here, 1 second, we're going to see in a minute that this was like a long-term thing. This was something that Rachel figured out from the very beginning. She realized that her father had the intention to make this switch, right? It's going to explain, we'll learn later why she didn't tell Yaakov, etc. If she knew this was happening, we'll see later, right? However, the idea that Rachel chapped, that this is what my father's going to do, I don't really have a say in the matter, so the only choice I have is whether to let my sister get embarrassed or not. And let her get embarrassed, not embarrassed in a way that she feels forever indebted to me, or do it in a way that I can make her feel good about herself, right? So Rachel Imenu, her tzidkus now is like on a whole different level, right? So she devised a whole approach to make it be for Leah, right? She said, that's it. If I can't marry him, I can't marry him, and I have to just accept that. But now what I can do is prevent my sister from having tremendous shame and embarrassment. So she worked for all those years to make it seem like it was all normal that Yaakov and Leah were supposed to in front of Leah, right? It's like an unbelievable medrash, an unbelievable thing what Rachel Imenu did. And then you see that this chesed, this epic chesed that again like goes down in history as like one of the biggest acts of atranos, it was done without the recipient ever knowing. Like mamish until Leah Achamev asked him, she went up into Shemayim and then found this out, you know what I mean? But like so much so that this is mamish, who is this? The Magid. What was his name? Rosh Shadran. Oh, Rosh Shadran. Everybody know who that is? Rosh Shadran. We have all those books here. The Magid. Anybody heard the Magid speaks? Like those books from Pesach Kron? So the Magid is Rosh Shadran. He was a very big Rav here in Yerushalayim. He's not alive anymore. And he was the Magid that told Pesach Kron all the stories that made Pesach Kron into like the Magid that he is. Right, but Rosh Shadran was mamish like a gadol. Anyway, so he has a sefer on Chumash, and he has a whole piece about this, and explains this idea that Leah spent her whole life not knowing what we know about the background of this story. She never knew that Rachel did this unbelievable chesed for her, right? And that's mamish like the epitome of what we're talking about here, right? When we try to help another person and do good for another person. So, I'll take your question 1 second. Any good that we can let them repay us, right? Any thanks that we accept, right? There's something that happened. Now, again, I don't mean this in a real way because I don't think people really think about it, right? But it's like a thing in America, would you say thank you to somebody and they say, like, oh, it was nothing, right? So yeah, you're saying that because you don't want the person to feel bad or whatever, right? But if you think about it, right, when a person is saying thank you, really what you should say is you're welcome, right? In other words, allow the person to recognize that you did something for them. You recognize that the person, is not going to pay you back. They're not giving you money. They're not, you know what I mean? But allow this person to say thank you, right? And not say like, oh, obviously, yes, you have to be honest and you can't take appreciation when it, right? But the idea that, allowing, like we started with the section, allowing a person to pay you back, allowing a person to thank you, allowing a person to feel less indebted to you, that makes your chesed bigger, right? And it's like whatever. That's just like a very important idea. To sometimes it's you don't need somebody's help, but it's a chesed to them to let them help you, right? And we have to be open to that. And okay, yeah, Malki.
Yeah, I'm just getting stuck on the technicalities of this for a second. Leia didn't know that Rachel was engaged to Yaakov at all. She didn't know that.
According to this medrash and this whole way of looking at it, which we'll see, there's other medrashim and stuff that we're going to see later. But yes, that this was a multi-year plan on the part of Lavan that Leah didn't know about, that Rachel did know about, and Yaakov obviously did not know about. And like I said, we'll see later why Rachel didn't tell anybody about it. We'll see that, right? But the idea that this was going on for a long period of time, and Rachel let it happen, and not only let it, but played along with it, even though she was losing her husband in the process. That's what the Medrash says.
And so Leah never met Yaakov actually, and she just thought that Yaakov was giving her money because he wants to fuck her.
No, the way I'm picturing it somehow like this, without getting into all the technicalities, and I don't, but what I would assume is something that, like, let's picture a very, very, ultra segregated type of, society where there's very, very little, what do you say? Right, like New Square, right? So, Yaakov, well, he did kiss Rachel as soon as he met her, but let's say after that, so when like Yaakov was at the house, so Yaakov saw the girls, and he's like, sitting in the other room, and he said to Lavan, "Okay, I'll work for that one," and Lavan's like, "Sure, no problem," and and then he sent her a love letter, and Lavan crossed it out and sent it to Leah, and that and from there it went on that Lavan was tricking Yaakov into marrying Leah, and that that's how it goes.
I know like their mother
Who Lavan's wife was? Um, 1 second.
did they have a mother at the time?
I don't know. It's a very good question. I don't know if there's any midrashim or chazal about. I'll try to take a look.
Does it say like how they ended up like so good?
Oh, that's a whole different story. Oh, okay, that's a very different story. So that Bechlal, so that it's not just them. I'm saying it's really Avram Avinu also is the same idea, right? Avram came from Terach, and we don't know why Avram was so good. This is a very interesting thing. There's a pasuk that says like this. I think it's in Eov. The pasuk says Hayotze Tahor Meitame Halo Echad. Okay, that's what the pasuk says. The one who brings out purity from tuma, from impurity, halo echad. There's only one, right? Which means that there's like a certain midah of Hashem, and this is like something only Hashem can do, right? That you can have a situation of a complete rasha and a person who is, doesn't look like they have any sort of merit on the outside world, that look completely impure, and yet from them can come somebody incredibly spiritually powerful, and and the tzaddik, and that idea exists. So that of Moshe David Valley, like I mentioned before, like from the Ramchal, that he says that specifically about Avram Avinu, and he says that specifically about the Imahos. The same thing, that they did not come from any sort of pure source. Right? Hashem just created this thing that these two great tzidkanios and these two great neshamos were going to be raised in this awful tamei environment, and be able to do it. So that's like almost like it's like a miraculous thing. You know what I'm saying? So we don't have any source as to why they were good, or what I mean. Hashem gave them the ability to be good even though they were in a terrible environment. It wasn't that they were like raised well, or Oh yeah, what do you hear? Oh, Dvorah, when Menekes Rivka died, right? Yeah, very good. Okay, that could be. Okay, yeah, very good. Yes. You 1 second, Malchus.
So I don't mean disrespect to asking this question, but I was slightly considering whenever I know. Like, I feel like we don't get anything.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, whoa. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you have to understand. Yeah, okay. No, I totally understand what you're saying. I completely understand what you're saying. You have to, yeah, and yet, right? If you think about it, and yet David HaMelech and Mashiach and the Kohen, Shevet Levi, Kohen Gadol, they all come from Leah, not Rachel, right? Okay, so there's some very, um, um, in a very like quick, rough sort of way, right? What Leah represents, like Olam Haba. Leah represents the concept of the way things are supposed to be, right? That's sort of like what Leah's representation, as opposed to Rachel, who represents Olam Hazeh and the mixture of good and bad that's over here, and all right. So the idea behind this is like this: that Yaakov thought that we were ready to have the world come out through Rachel. In other words, Yaakov thought Mashiach was going to come through Rachel because Rachel was more down to earth and more the part of spiritually that is connected to this world. And Yaakov thought that we were ready for that to happen, right? However, it was not ready for that. It was premature, right? And it really needs to go through, a much, much longer process until we're going to get there. And that's why we have this idea of Mashiach ben Yosef. In other words, like Rachel's children, Mashiach ben Yosef is going to be what paves the way for it to happen, right? But ultimately, it's going to happen. I don't know if I stressed it that way. Ultimately, it's going to happen through Leah, right? Because Leah really represents the Olam Haba type of um, existence. So it's like the world wasn't ready for her yet, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's why her representation over here in the world comes off as not, you know, she barely plays a role, and she's not except it's her children that run everything for the rest of Klal Yisrael. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot to this, but that's
So, did she, all the heroes and novels, all like went through significant tests and like things that show us like their greatness? Maybe I just can't remember. I can't remember anything.
well, right. No, we don't read too much about her. That's what I'm saying. We don't learn too much about her. Except the things that like affect us. Like, she was the first one to give Hodah to Hashem, and now the whole concept of Hodah goes back to Leah. And there's all sorts of things. But you're right. Yes, there's a lot. There's a lot to this topic. A lot to this.
She also had an extremely painful life.
Right, you're all those years.
Like a ton of children who became
Right. Yes.
I just looked up online and I did find examples, but I'm pretty sure that Robin's right name is
Adina?
Yeah, that's what it says. Sister Yasha.
He's always satisfied.
I
Whoa.
found it inside though.
Okay. Wow. Adina. Yes.
Yeah, no,
I don't know why. I still can't understand the concept of Leia not knowing. Because even let's say after she was married to Yaakov, I learned that as a result, as for not being Rachel, he was very angry with her.
No, with her? No. No, it doesn't say that. It says with Lavan. He went downstairs.
What is she doing there?
No, he didn't say that.
When he woke up.
No, he didn't say that. No, he went downstairs and he said, okay, I don't know. Show me if you have a booklet or something. I don't know. Could be. Oh, not here though. Okay, I see. I don't know. Yeah, I'm open to see. I don't know. I mean, look. There's a lot of. I mean, this exchange here is sassy. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that are. What did you say? Well, I understand, but she's from her perspective, she was oppressed, right? From her perspective, she was right. It was like her husband first, and then he went and married this other woman, and then ends up paying more attention to her, and now what I mean. And now she wants my flowers also, and what I mean. Like,
no, the thing is, we hear of all these great people that when they do things, I understand if somebody on our level would say that, but we hear when, these great people.
No. That's a big mistake. That's a huge mistake. All great people also have feelings. They're not robots. They all have feelings, and when Chazal tell us that Moshe Rabbeinu made a mistake because he got angry about something, so that's what happened. You know what I mean? He has emotions, and
we hear always that they get punished from these things, so we don't hear that way about punished.
well, because maybe she was venting. Maybe it wasn't wrong what she was doing. Maybe she was just venting her feelings about she's feeling oppressed, and yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt, but we have to Zoom at 12.
Oh boy, that's right now.
No one gets on.
Okay, yeah, that'd be sad.
I mean, wait, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm a little bit confused what the verdict is, because the example of like Rachel makes it seem like you're not supposed to tell people, but then this, I thought you were saying you are supposed to tell people.
No. The idea is like this. It's not a matter of telling or not telling. The idea is the best chesed is when the person feels the least indebted to you, right?
Even when she's
So
not hurt for the rest of her life.
okay, I hear what you're saying. I hear. Yes, I know it's a very big topic. I hear what you're saying. I opened up a can of worms. We have to get to it. But the idea is the less debt the person feels, the higher the level of chesed, right? So if the person knows you've done it for them, so then letting them pay you back is a bigger chesed, right? But if you could do a chesed in such a way, legitimately, not that you're secretly holding them to it, etc., right? Rachel didn't blurt out, what are you talking about? I'm the one, right? In other words, she didn't. She kept right. In other words, she didn't do that. So if you're able to do that, and then so the highest chesed is when the person doesn't even know, right? But when a person knows and can pay you back, so then that's okay. I'll stop here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.